Hey there, thanks for joining us at the Rabbit Hole of Research, where you'll learn a few facts that you can impress your friends with at a party.
Hey, welcome back to the Rabbit Hole of Research. This here is the first episode of season 2. Big season 2. We're
Congratulations.
Here. Thank you. You have me, Joe. We've got Georgia.
Hello.
We've got Nick.
Oh, hello there.
And we do have a guest today here with us.
Hello.
There it is.
I'm Wes.
Thank you. We'll come back to that. I just want to open the season up with a few things that we didn't do and that we did do. And so one that we've already talked about is I did watch Lord of the Rings. So check that off of this season 2. I said I was going to do it.
Before season 2.
Before season 2. Things we haven't done yet is we haven't gotten new studio chairs for the guests. And so they still sit on the uncomfortable chairs that
They're
Georgia
very
picked out.
uncomfortable.
So.
But luckily we've added these cushions and that helps a little bit.
These cushions are luxurious.
There it is. So,
You hear that?
so that's going to be like a season thing like we did the first season where we just improved things as we went along. Well, yeah, today we're here to talk about the simulation hypothesis, simulation reality. Wes, would you want to go ahead and run down your bio?
Hi, I'm Wes. I don't know if I should say my age or not. I don't know.
You can say your age if you like.
It's totally up to you because I'm not saying mine.
I won't say my age, but I was born in 1969.
Okay. That's the same year I was born. So.
All right. So now people have to do math. Come on.
Hey, Google.
I'm a steel worker at Gary Works here in Indiana. And I'm just an all-around nerd, science fiction guy, all-around nice guy. And I do subscribe to some conspiracy theories sometimes.
And you're an artist.
I'm an
That's
artist.
why I
I'm an
like this,
artist.
right? Yeah.
That's a recent development in the last few years. But yes, I do fit that description.
Very talented.
Put some links and stuff
Yeah.
on the show notes. What's everyone drinking? You want to do that at the beginning? Sometimes we do it at the end, but since this was
Wes, you want to start us off?
Yes, I'm having a lovely Three Floyds selection called Permanent Funeral. It's an Imperial IPA, 10.5% alcohol by volume, and it is delicious.
There you go,
That is always a fantastic one.
Georgia.
I'm
So
going
you
to take a
can
sip.
you can stay the night in the basement
Studio. That's right.
if you
It's like an
need to,
Airbnb. After you,
after you have the world's strongest beer.
no, that's not the world's strongest beer.
I've been told the world's strongest beer is available,
We've
though.
had the world's strongest beer. Yeah, we can do it. Yeah,
You might not want to.
Georgia, what are you drinking there?
Oh, what am I drinking?
Not the world's strongest beer.
No,
Probably
definitely no.
Not the world's weakest beer either.
No, I'm Kirkland's Signature Hard Seltzer Black Cherry.
There it is.
Ooh, representing that Kirkland line.
Yeah.
Yeah, Costco.
Nick, what do
I'm
you got?
drinking something I feel like is a little appropriate for the season, Cabin Fever by New Glarus.
Yeah.
It is a honey lager. And of course, I'm drinking some Liquid Death,
Got Liquid Death here in the house.
Convicted Melon.
So you're saying that cabin fever is appropriate because it's winter?
Yeah.
Okay.
It,
I mean,
it
I
has
was-
nothing to do with this episode.
And
It's
I
just
was
the
trying to
season.
like, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
It's-
I gotcha.
What about you, Joe?
I am drinking
It's
an
winter.
Athletic
Oh,
and Run Wild IPA from Athletic Brewing Company. Okay, yeah, so let's get in. So the simulation hypothesis, simulation reality. And what I like to do is start out with some framing definitions. And I don't really have
I
a
do
list.
have a list. Oh,
But I do have 3 definitions. That's
A
like a
list?
list. That's a list of definitions. Yeah.
It's a small list.
I do have it. It's one of the smaller lists that I've had on the show. And so simulation hypothesis, simulation reality is the idea that the reality we experience, everything we see, feel, interact with, and even the idea of free will is actually an artificial construct generated by advanced computational processes. This would suggest that our entire universe might be a sophisticated simulation running on a high-level information processing substrate created by an intelligence outside our perceived reality. In this view, every aspect of our environment, including the laws of physics, could be similar to software code, and we ourselves might be sentient entities existing within a meticulously crafted virtual domain rather than a fundamental physical base reality. So that's the one definition. I also want to frame this by talking about a nested reality and give that definition. These are realities that are not computational simulations per se, but they each involve layers of existence, dream states, or constructed environments that sit inside another reality. And then the other one is stage reality. That's also a constructed environment that's designed to appear genuine, yet orchestrated from behind the scenes. And every detail, from weather to daily events, may be orchestrated by unseen handlers, other individuals, often hired performers, are parts of the environment, artificially constructed, designed to appear normal. And the subjects of the stage reality usually have no idea that their world is manipulated. And the main tension kind of revolves around the potential revelation of the truth. And I think those three kind of definitions would frame the conversation we'll probably have.
Yeah, I have a few that already fit into at least one of each of these categories.
Right. So, yeah. So what you said you had examples or movies. How do you want to go at
Wes,
this?
what do you got?
You would I can give more lists. I do have
No more lists. Cut
a
them
list
off.
of things,
Cut them off.
arguments for, arguments against. Where are we
No,
at?
we're good.
Let's go.
Where are you
really
sitting
quick.
at this, Wes?
Where's everybody feel? Or you feel like you're in a simulation, or you need to
It rings true to me.
rings
It does.
true? Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm a true believer. I still have questions, but a lot of it answers a lot of questions I've always wondered about my whole life. And if this is true, now I understand some stuff that I never understood before. In a way, I lean towards it. Yeah.
So do you think we're the first definition,
No, I
second, or
think-
third?
Oh, I think that we're way higher down the line than that. I think there's probably who knows, infinite number above us.
he's in the simulation. So he's talking about we're
So
in a place of.
You're not saying that we're not in the Truman Show.
No, not like the Truman Show. Truman
What-
Show is a different thing.
That'd be a
That's
stage
like that-
reality.
that would be the
a
third
stage
definition,
Stage reality.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm
So-
talking about,
Are you talking about the Matrix?
yeah, I guess if we're going with a pop culture reference, the Matrix would be right there.
Like The Sims, where
Yeah.
someone
Sims will
else
be,
is
right.
playing
Yeah.
with all these different families and
Right? Or
taking the ladder
to-
away
to-
from the swimming pool.
Westworld. I don't know if you've seen Westworld.
Yes.
They did a simulation, except they did it with androids, essentially.
Well, I think that would be a stage reality.
Yeah.
That would be. See,
Now,
that's
are you
get in there
talking
because that would
Westworld
be.
like the old 70s movie?
No, I'm talking about the HBO series Westworld.
What is this other one? Wait,
Don't tell me you're not serious, Nick.
I'm 100% serious.
I
What
don't-
are you
I
talking
don't know it
about?
either.
Oh my gosh.
This was a little before my time.
Okay, the Yul Brynner movie that came out in the 70s. Yul Brynner, that picture, I've actually done that
Yeah.
print where his face is coming off.
Yeah.
That's Westworld.
Oh.
That's the original Westworld.
Yeah, it was a movie.
It's Michael.
Oh, same like idea too.
It's
same
exactly.
idea.
They
Oh,
based
yes.
the Westworld series on
Oh,
that story.
Hey, who
I
knew?
had
I
no
didn't know.
clue.
Nick and I didn't know.
And then
And
there's
I'm
a
the
future
same
world.
age as you
I was
are.
gonna say you're my age
And
too.
You
then
were
there's
also
a
born
future
in
world. Was the
1969.
second movie,
Future
right?
World,
Yes,
and
there
I-
was Westworld and Future World were the
Right.
two movies. That
And of
came
course,
out, so-
Jurassic Park.
And then Jurassic.
And
Park.
Jurassic Park is similar to Westworld in the whole sense of amusement park where you
Right,
go.
it was amusement park
Because
that
in West
went crazy.
now in the series, it wasn't. It was amusement park, not amusement
Well,
park.
it was,
but people went there, right?
Yes. People went there and they could immerse themselves in this simulated Western environment and they could do anything. They could have relationships with the Sims. They could kill them. They could fight with them. They could. Anything goes
Yeah,
in
it's
Westworld.
just-
Anything went, and you could do anything you wanted.
I loved that movie when I was little. I don't know why. I just loved it.
Now I'll have to go watch it.
No, but then I watched it like years later and I was like, oh my gosh, like so much of that movie just went over my head and it was so inappropriate, 70s, cringy. But it is a good movie, so you should check it out.
Definitely.
Like I do see where this idea can become like, all right, this is where you could start cementing yourself. But then there's also so much that I feel like takes me away from the idea as well. Like, how many times can you have a simulation inside a simulation without there being giant crashes? With the way computers are now, we see things go down terribly.
I think the idea is that for this to work, that you would keep having rapid increases in computational powers and graphical realism. And so some of these issues you're talking about isn't with today's technology. It would be sometime in the future. And so that's one of my issues maybe with this whole thing is that where will we be at in the line of simulation creation because it ultimately is a chain. So there was the base reality. So someone created the first computer simulation. And then in that simulation, the people in the simulation who thought they had free will, they then design a computer system that they can create a simulation. And then that next simulation, civilization or people, they then gain knowledge and then they build a simulation. And so essentially that would keep going on and on. And so the question is, where would we be at in that reality, right? And so since we're not at the point where we can build another simulation, that would mean we're either the base reality that's going to make the simulation, the first simulation for everyone else to do, or we're not in a simulation, right?
Where would Ready Player One fall into this?
That's
Because
perfect.
Right.
Ready Player One,
Right.
you have this VR headset, which we do have now. That is a thing that we have in this time and era. And it's not that far-fetched to have that type of VR. It's maybe less than a decade away from being able to have that immersion.
I believe Google in December just announced their first quantum CPU called Willow, which is extremely powerful CPU. I think we're close. I think we're Ready Player One close.
I think Ready Player One, though, would be a nested reality.
And that's
The players in that knew they were in a simulation.
Yes.
In the Oasis, that a massive kind of multiplayer virtual universe. And all the participants knew that they were in that environment. So that wasn't their basis of reality. They actually knew the base reality. And then they went into this world. So there was almost one layer of nesting.
Yeah.
And you could have other nesting in there, but those nests, so then, that's how that
The
constructed.
plausibility of the nested definition is very high.
Very high. I
Very
think that
high.
one is extremely high. Yeah, nested in realities now, as pointed out. And I think, or I don't know if we have that level of detail yet in the virtual world, but I can imagine we'll get there.
So
So,
you know that you're in a simulation or it's a game and then you have to stop and eat and
right,
do
right,
like
that's right.
human bodily things, right?
right. Yes, that's right.
But you're saying we get to a point where we wouldn't even have to do that?
That would be the simulation hypothesis. Yes, you would still think your biology and chemistry and physics of your world would be dictated by the code. So you still would do all the things that you do.
going back to The Sims.
Right.
All those characters do use the bathroom. They
Yep,
do shower.
right,
They
right.
go to work. They are playing life, and you are creating what they do. And it's the amount of depth you can do with it. You can get really wonky with it too. It's just, you can have a family, or you could just be a vampire. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Essentially, the idea then is
Death
that
comes to your door and you burn up your house once you take all the doors away.
Did
That
anybody
these-
see the
Are you-
movie Free Guy?
Yes.
It could be like that.
Like that's another VR. Like,
yeah. He was a non-playable character, Ryan Reynolds' character, and one day he just realized something was wonky.
that was from his code because of the original creator of the game had that in there, and when they were stolen, it was spoilers. The
Oh,
whole
wait, how old is this?
what
I don't know.
20
Yeah, it was recent.
18?
It's
Yeah.
pretty recent.
That
Because
was,
that's-
You're already too late. I already saw.
Oh,
Joe, you need to edit that
I
spoiler.
know, yeah.
He's gonna have to go in.
Yeah. I was going to
I
look.
assumed you already saw it.
No, I have
didn't-
not seen
I
it.
didn't
I know what
see
you're
it.
talking about, though. But I think that goes to this point, to make that jump, then the Sims would need to have free will.
Yes.
And then they would have the free will and then make the decision to make a new computer or understand enough
So,
and then
like-
build their computer to actually
They
now
do
create
have
Sims.
VR in the game.
I was gonna
Right.
say, are there some
They're
characters
Sims with VR
that
Yes.
they
do?
play. Yeah, interesting.
Yes.
So, right.
but you don't see what they're playing.
Right,
But
right.
like you
right.
can buy them a VR headset, and then they're just, whoa, what are you doing?
Right, yeah, they
like
don't
they're
they speak one of our
Simlish.
language, yeah.
I don't play that game, so I don't know.
I dabbled.
Yeah.
Yes. Very early on I played Sims, but I haven't in
And they-
some time.
Yeah.
Nick, have you tried any of the AI simulations apps like Replica or Kindroid?
I have. I'm never a huge fan of it. I feel like a lot of it's very half-assed.
And what that is for the listeners out there, people may not be as familiar.
They are, for all intents and purposes, are apps that simulate a human companion.
Right.
And you
Okay.
you can design, I think it'd be male or female or non-binary, and you just
You have conversation.
can have conversations, ask them questions. I was pushing it the last week just because I'm interested in the technology, trying to put them through their paces, putting them in different difficult human emotional situations. And that's when you see the limits of the technology, is when you put them in those difficult situations. And they have short-term memory. They can't remember anything past 20 comments.
Yeah.
Then they forget.
But yeah, one of them was D&D one that I was messing with, and it was like, all right, let's try to construct a story with you. And the story was just falling apart. It had very weak strings with it.
I'm thinking probably the tech industry has some better software out there, but they're not sharing it with us.
Maybe.
I mean,
it's you also have the limits of AI also, and the algorithm and how it's going
It
to
does
respond.
seem like
so,
it's changing exponentially. It's just like
I tried Replica about 2 years ago, and it sucked. It was
Who
like
has
so
a
bad. And then
Gemini companion. Have you tried? You have a.
I have.
I haven't tried
is it-
Gemini.
Is
but I
it
tried
better or is it
I'm
not?
not a huge fan. I
Yeah,
prefer
okay.
my Google Assistant over Gemini.
Okay.
It is improving,
Yeah.
but it's not reactive to everything that you're talking to it with.
Right.
yeah. But what was your experience? You said you had it a couple of years ago, and you can see the difference.
tried the Replica app, and it was terrible. But then I tried the Kindroid app just this past week, and it was a lot better. I don't know if it's because it's a different app or because a couple of years have passed and they've developed it better.
It's definitely going to continue getting better. I don't think it's ever going to be on the same level with human without stealing enough information from actual people. It's not going to be up.
Well,
to
isn't
par.
that what they do?
Yes. And it's
So-
going to keep doing
Well,
that.
I think also it's not even stealing from people. I think the thing is that you always will have experience of environment filtered through the human experience, and then that is translated to the machine, and then it's inferring from that. So really you need to have the machine experience the environment itself and then extrapolate what it thinks about that to actually truly make that next jump there. And so that's one of another argument against the simulation kind of hypothesis or reality is that how do you get that sophistication in the code, right? So that's the thing. So that goes to the point. Will we ever get there?
I was just gonna say this kind of goes back to the multi
Right.
universe,
Right.
right?
Yes.
Because we only know what we know.
That's right.
So maybe this is a part of this bigger simulation, and this is where we're at. We don't know, like the technology could be way ahead, but we are experiencing it the way this simulation
I think
wants
it's-
us
right,
to
and that's-
experience it.
Yes,
So,
there's
do
some
you know
other
what I'm
theories that
the-
address that, yeah.
We're probably, I think, to Wes's point earlier, that simulation. So there's like
The
a
inception.
gazillion simulations. My thing is that it's probably 50-50. We're either the base, we're in some flux,
We're
right?
in-
So and so really evidence then says we're the base reality and not the simulation at some level, right? So it's, you can think, but you're right. In terms of proving, you get into the same things as the multiverse, unfalsibility. You don't have a clear testable prediction that you can experiment with the multiverse. It's anthrocentric, that it is in cultural bias. We see what we see. Our universe is, it assumes advanced civilizations think like us, or we could have ancestors who are building a simulation that we now live in.
To-
Things like
to
that.
study their
right,
ancestors.
just they're doing. So you could have things like that, but it is this whole idea. You have to explain the simulation theory with the simulation theory. Like, we're in a simulation.
Exactly. Yeah.
Is
So
it like a self?
you keep going, right? Yes.
It's like a self-fulfilling.
Prophecy.
Right. Yeah.
Kind of.
It's essentially right. You just have an infinite chain of simulations because you're always somewhere in it. Oh, you know what? We're at stage number 2, and
I think
we're
the
not.
game
yeah,
Assassin's
so-
Creed does exactly like that, where it's they take someone from now and put them in a pod where they end up seeing like what happened in the past from like your great ancestor.
Right.
And it's, we're going to take you back to the Renaissance time. And then You're going to experience it from their eyes. And it's how far would they be able to go? Is that going to be in someone's DNA that you can get their memories? It's
Right, and it could be like aliens. Aliens could be doing it. What's the show? The show that we watched that was in the book.
Three body problem. Right. Yes. Right.
So
yes,
it could
yes,
be
yes.
it was the aliens
Right.
that were messing with the humans through VR.
But that would be
and-
ultimately that was almost a stage reality that you had handlers because they were creating the environment that they were in and trying to get them to think of technologies to help them survive.
I saw this show.
Did you watch
Yeah,
it?
I did watch it, and I'm having trouble recalling it for some reason.
I think it's a planned program, maybe.
I could tell you what really changed my mind was what I read about the experimental physics and the double slit experiment. And you familiar with that, anybody?
No.
No?
Yeah, I do know that.
No,
those
but
are
tell
yes,
us.
yes.
All right. In layman's terms, experimental physicists would shoot particles, electrons, through a plate that had two identical slits in the plate. And then they would have behind the plate some kind of receiving device that would record the particles where the particles hit the plate. Okay. And as you would expect, they randomly shot the particles through the slits and they formed a pattern on the plate and on the recording plate of roughly two slits, which is what you would expect. However, when no cameras were on and no humans were watching it, the particles collapsed into a waveform, like a wave if you drop a pebble in water, and it completely gave a different pattern on the recording, but which is crazy because the only variable was nobody was watching or somebody was watching, which changed results, which was freaked me out. Not only that, it changed the past. I don't know if you've heard this, Joe. When they
No.
Okay, so yeah, they were somehow proved that once a human started looking, that the particles, the waves collapsed back into particles, and it erased any past recording that they were ever waves.
But I think
That goes back to that what you called us. No, that's quantum entanglement. I guess that's
So
a different.
the slit experiment, they actually did record that phenomenon. And so the idea there was that you would have tiny particles, right? We think of things as particles. And if you had just a single slit, everything would go through that slit and form one line. And then one would imagine that if you do the double split, right? So you have particles shooting, like imagine BBs or something. You should just get two slits. But what they observed indirectly was that you actually would get a pattern of slits. You would get a pattern that were more than two when you have a double slit there. So that was actually observed. This is the true experiment. And the idea then is that what came out of that is that some things like electrons can act both as particle and also have a waveform. And if you imagine that, if they have a wave and you're now going through double slit, you will now get a population of different lines behind the double slit beside the two. So if you're just a particle,
so they don't shoot in straight lines.
that's right, exactly, like a particle. So they have a dual kind of function. So it is really interesting. And you do get this weirdness that when you have detectors directly observing that, you can then have it disappear and destroy the waveform.
So if a tree falls in the forest and no one's around, doesn't make a sound.
Oh, I can talk about that, and I think Joe and I already have.
Well, right, yes.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my.
Yeah. No, it's really fascinating. So you get this kind of pattern. That was how they proved both. But you're right. When you start observing, then you go back to the two slits again.
What I think it points to is this is a simulation, and they don't waste computing power on things that aren't currently being observed by a sentient entity.
Why not?
Because
I mean,
if
you have the why.
because if they do that, it would be they'd have to
Yeah, but if it's
populate
already,
the whole universe with things that aren't being observed.
But why code it that way? If you're going that, then someone had to write this code, and then why create this anomaly? Because most things in computers are extremely logical, and so you do have this kind of very logic tree structure. So
Or
You know.
are they?
I can't explain it, Joe.
All right. Or maybe we're not in a simulation. We just don't understand the physics.
I
or the
don't.
quantum
Yeah,
physics of it. So.
I don't think. I think that what we understand about physics is just a drop, and the stuff we don't understand is a whole ocean.
All right.
All right. Question about this. So no one was there to observe it happen, but when it was still there when they did show back up, correct?
They can record the
So-
result. But
There are
nobody was
cameras
observed.
around in the room, yes?
Sure.
So like that is someone technically watching.
If you put, yes.
Right.
It's
Yeah,
because
yeah,
it's
right,
being
right.
recorded.
But
Right.
there's a device that records like a plate.
A detector, right, yes.
Yeah, a
Yeah, right,
detector.
right,
There's a
right,
detector there, but the detector, for whatever reason, doesn't. I guess
Right.
they're not. The simulation is accounting that as somebody observing it. I don't have all the answers to that. That's
No,
why,
you're
it's
right.
why it's so freaky.
It's a predictable behavior, but unexplained. It's a really big mystery.
There's a really good movie on Tubi about it called Simulation Hypothesis. Pretty good. It's only 1 hour.
So it's like a documentary?
Yeah, it's
or,
a documentary. It's called
okay.
Simulation Hypothesis. I believe it's on Tubi.
Okay. To be.
I know, there it is.
So all right, off of that one, because I don't know why, we always bring something Marvel. Would WandaVision be the staged, or would this be in this at all?
Good question.
Oh, yeah.
I don't
think
know.
it would
I
be
never
in
thought
this.
about
I
that.
think it would be staged for the people in the town that didn't know what was happening, right?
Yeah, like they were all forced into this, having their mind altered.
Yeah.
Sounds right.
Yes. Yeah, staged. Yeah, I would go with staged.
Then I would also go with Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Oh, good movie.
They're going back into his memories, erasing his ex-girlfriend,
Right.
but he's still having the memories there, so it's being replicated and
I
altered.
don't know if he had the memory still. I don't think it's any of these. I'm gonna go. I
No?
think when they erased it, what they were showing is that I guess it was more fate, that you would repeat your same mistakes.
I thought it was
'Cause
being
they
erased and
didn't-
altered.
Yeah, I don't know about a simulation.
I think, or a handler. I think they erased the memories, and he still met up with his girlfriend, and it was almost like a loop. Like you didn't know if they
Okay.
had met again because all the friends were in on it. Like it was, you can't erase all the friend memories, and it felt as though there was a memory loop, and then they realized the doctor was erasing like his assistant's memory, and they had some affair, but it was like a whole thing, and then it was
Hey,
like,
no,
yeah,
sir.
that movie is over 20 years old. I
Yeah,
think,
but if it's
or
really
close.
good, I think that we
is
should
good.
still have
Well,
a rule.
I think if it's a good movie, you can't
Then-
spoil it.
I don't know if that's right.
I think it's true. It's the reality.
You could definitely spoil it.
So your whole thing is that because we have phenomena that we can't explain, that means we're in a simulation, or does it just mean we haven't the tools to explain a phenomenon yet? Because there's a lot of phenomenons we can't explain, and that's going to be
What
Right?
I would argue is that the simulation provides the best explanation for what we're seeing.
that's just a cop out. I mean, one could say religion explains the best explanation. God did it, right? That's the same argument at some level.
I can't say you're wrong, but
You can say I'm right. Doesn't mean that,
and it'll be on record.
you're absolutely wrong.
as an
Right?
yeah, I get it. I'm an
Yeah,
anti-theist, so
yeah.
I don't subscribe to any of the theological explanations. But
Yeah.
I see your point. Personally, I rely a lot on my intuition to what feels true.
So then there's a philosopher, Nick Bostrom,
Bostrom, yeah.
right? So we have these three postulates there. And one is that almost no advanced civilization reaches a stage where they can run high fidelity ancestor simulations. So that's this kind of idea that it says if an advanced civilization can run such simulations, but have no interest in doing so. You do it. You don't. Why run these simulations? And the other thing is we're likely inside a simulation. Given if one must hold, if we assume that advanced civilizations are both possible and interested in running simulations, then the probability that we are in a simulation then increases dramatically. They give you throw you a little life raft
So
there.
wait, but is this like a philosopher?
Yeah, this is like
Yeah.
exactly right. Yeah, so this is all
Is this
philosophy.
like somebody currently?
Yeah,
or
this
somebody?
was like this book was like
Give
3
me a
years
little
so.
background here.
The book. That's the first Nick Rostrum. He wrote a book, Simulation Argument, in 2003. I said all that. Really?
No, he didn't. Did he say that?
I don't remember him saying the book or
He
the
definitely
year.
he wrote a paper on it for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. He's got some.
There's another guy. I don't know if he's a philosopher. His name is Donald Hoffman. He is also a proponent of this. He's a PhD in something or other. And another guy, Bernardo Kastrup. I don't know if you've heard of him.
No, I haven't heard of him.
Another philosopher, PhD, computer scientist. But yeah, those are the three that come off my head. I don't know if Bostrom's a PhD or not.
Yeah, that I don't know. We can
put
get
it in
get
the
his
show notes.
right? Yeah.
Footnotes?
Yes.
But no, yeah,
Put it in the
that's,
show notes.
that was the other one I had. So I have like arguments for and I have arguments against. But that was one, and then the wave function collapse that you mentioned.
So
under
when did you
observation,
first become interested in this theory, and then what is it about it that makes it feel right? Besides,
It was 1999, the day I saw The Matrix.
are you serious?
That was the day I started thinking about that possibility. But
I'm so sorry.
no.
The way you said that was great.
And I would push back somewhat that potentially the Matrix is a stage reality, not an actual simulation, per the definitions, because there are handlers. The machines are actually controlling what's happening inside of that reality.
Then
True.
I think it depends on what level you're looking at it.
There's only one level in that movie.
No,
There was
but
only one level.
if you were in the beginning when told him everything and said red pill, blue pill, and all that,
Right, but you still
he
were
was
being-
living his life.
Yeah, but that's like I think
George
so.
He was in the simulation.
I think
Yeah.
if you have right,
Shut
but I
up.
think if you in a
That
stage,
was not a spoiler. I didn't say which one he chose.
I think like you have the stage reality. Like we'll throw some early on in season 2 MCU love, but Captain America in Avengers when he got pulled out the ice,
right.
he was in a stage
Right.
reality where they were feeding him.
They tried to put the music
and he go right the
and
music,
news.
this environment, and then he
Right.
kept hearing the baseball game is what clued him in that something was wrong. So
Right.
he went to that game, and it was like, hold on. So I think you have the same thing with the Matrix. The machines are just giving people, and they said that's why the first Matrix collapsed because they made it too perfect. They had to make it, they had to add a little bit of dirt in there to get them a little grime to make them feel good, and then they went. So they were actually handling the human
I see
experience.
what you mean.
Is that why it had that grimy filter over it the entire
That's
movie?
why it's a Grammy filter. That's what it's called.
To make it look green.
Yeah.
Make everything was green.
Is that what they were like? Oh, we got to
think
throw
it
some
was
dirt
just-
on this. Let's make everything green and
Like
grimy.
we just didn't have high definition back then. That was
That was amazing at the time.
it was no, it was incredible. I agree. When I left the theater, I didn't think. Well, I mean, at some level, it was like, oh, we are in this machine. I can like jump over cars and I can like float in midair and do some sort of kick and have no karate or martial arts background, but I felt as though I could just plug me in and upload some information, fly helicopters, things like that. But
That's why I like to suck on sockets.
yeah, there it is. USB-C
What?
plug.
Just download some old karate films. This is how I'm
Yes,
going to learn
that's
how to
right.
karate.
That's how you get beat up.
So is there an example in pop culture of what was the first one called? The total.
Simulation.
Yeah. Is there a.
Yeah, I think there was a Black Mirror episode called San Junipero. You guys familiar with the Black Mirror?
Yeah,
yes.
and this definitely seems like it would be on Black.
All right, so in that episode, it was about two women. They were immersed in a simulation back in the
saw that one.
80s and on a
Oh,
Island.
is this
That's
the one where
right,
she
yeah.
was dying?
right.
Yeah.
So
I love that episode.
you know- yeah, yes.
Don't spoil it.
you already did. You already told me you love that episode.
I know, but I'm talking about for other people. I don't want to spoil.
Oh, is that a thing here? We can't
Yeah.
spoil anything?
So only if it's older than 20 years.
And
So I think
sometimes I
San
argue
Junipero,
with
it's
that.
probably like 8 or 9
It
years
is,
old.
Yeah, you're fine.
Yeah.
Go
I mean,
for it.
The idea was they would place them in a actual computer simulation. They would allegedly down into a CPU and then place them after their physical bodies die. Place them in this simulation where they and there was
Computer world.
yeah, there was not just that one. They could choose. They could try out different ones before they died, and then decide to pick one permanently or not.
But wouldn't that still be staged?
I mean, at
No,
some level you
I
are,
mean-
right? You have, I mean, this gets to that other, even in the simulation
So
kind of theory, hypothesis, is that you get back to, right? You gave the cop out that we can't explain like the waveform collapse and things like that and the mysteries of our physical world. But that means that somebody had to, like the base reality, have they figured it out? Or is this now they're just effing with us, right? They put this in our code and it's, oh, we got to figure this out. You know what I mean? So
Or is it like
you do
a
have this, it creates a philosophical paradox, right? Because you start looping back.
Yes, it creates
And-
a philosophical paradox.
Right.
Can't argue with that.
I love it. Those are my favorite types of paradoxes.
Yes.
As
What's your
soon
least
as-
favorite, Nick?
Don't worry about that one, Joe.
I think as soon as you make a story about this, then it becomes staged. You know what I'm saying? Because you remove yourself to one. I'm trying to
Right.
think of.
I mean, you have to be,
There was a show, and I want to say, was it Keanu Reeves, where
The
he.
Matrix.
Scanner
No,
Darkly.
not- it might have been.
I feel like it was a Scanner Darkly that
It was like there's a movie where he dies, or somebody, or was it like he dies or somebody else dies, and they take the consciousness and they put it into this machine. I don't know.
was it like a cell shaded film? It wasn't live action, but it was like that.
No, it was. Oh, I know what you're talking about. No, this was an actual real, like live action. I can't.
Was it that
remember. I'll
one
have
with
to look.
the Antwoord was in, where they were uploading people's consciousness into robots? I can't remember what the movie was
I
called.
don't
But you know
if
who
it was-
the Antwoord is? South American band or South African band? No.
no, I don't know that.
Shoot. Now I'm gonna have to look it up.
But I'll go back and if we loosen the definition a bit and we add another
Are
caveat.
you allowed to do that?
Can do
These are my-
anything we
right,
want.
that's
He
my
can edit it.
definition, yeah. But let's say you go the folks in a simulation to be a stage reality at some level, or I guess the nested reality, one of these other ones. Will the participants in the environment, should they be aware that there is another, right? Are they aware of their base
Or
reality?
do they become aware, like in
That's right,
Truman
yeah,
Show,
right.
and oh my God,
Exactly.
it's
Yeah.
like,
What's
yeah.
the simulation kind of things? I think that would be the idea there, that you could loosen it and then you go, maybe Matrix is there because the people in it, they didn't know they were in the simulation, but other people did know they were in the simulation and they could get them out at any time,
right?
which always, you could collapse the whole Matrix if you just woke everybody up at once and the robots would have, the machines would have no more batteries, which, why are we using people for, okay. Enough of hand wavium on Matrix, but
I was waiting for the time when somebody would say hand wavium.
Yeah, there
Oh
is.
gosh, if you were playing
you
the
could've-
drinking game, you're really thirsty.
Do we have to take a drink every time somebody says hand wavium?
Yep.
or show notes.
Footnotes.
Yeah.
It's delicious.
Now, you said Daniel Gallier?
I did not.
Gallier? Well, I had that, and us looking up this Simulacron 3 in 1964. They're often cited as one of the earliest explicit depictions of a complex simulated environment inhabited by sentient beings who don't know that they're living in a simulation.
I was not aware
And you
of
would
that.
have
Ooh,
that,
that
yeah.
sounds
So
interesting. Was that a movie
and
or a
it's-
book?
it's a book, and it predates modern digital age.
Wow.
And so this was this
That's
whole,
really
and
interesting.
then it was adapted into a German TV movie, World on a Wire, in 1973.
Wow.
And so that was this.
That's really
idea.
interesting. Yeah, so like early science fiction, you might have this down, but what's like the earliest mentions of this type of idea? Like a Bradbury or
If we did the earliest, it would be ancient philosophers in Plato's allegory of the cave,
Yep.
380 BCE. Even though it wasn't computer simulation, it did have this idea that what we perceive might be a mere projection of a deeper reality. And prisoners in a cave only see shadows and believe these to be the entirety of existence. And so you had this whole like metaphorical kind of construct,
what year did you
That-
say?
380 BC.
Whoa.
Yeah. So.
I'm surprised you didn't throw it to me for this one. I had this one.
Oh, did you? What do you
Yeah.
got? You
No,
got
I
the
had
second
that.
Oh, did you?
No, I had that one.
Sure.
I did. I had it right here.
So did
And then you had like in, was that Zhangji's Butterfly Dream, 4th century BCE, and it's a Taoist philosopher asked if his experience as a human could be just a dream created by a butterfly.
Just wanted to let everyone know that I had to prove Georgia wrong, that I had it on my phone.
Oh, the other thing we don't have starting season 2, we don't have the video yet.
No, not yet.
Yeah, we don't have that.
Oh,
Sorry.
yeah, you got to
Sorry.
do a YouTube
Yeah.
podcast. Maybe we should talk about the Mandela Effect a little bit. I think that
Mandela
relates
Effect.
to it some, as far as talk about what are the limitations of the simulation and what happens if the system crashes and they have to reboot it. And then maybe that's when you
Get
have the
deja
Mandela
vu?
Effect.
I do
Yeah,
have a
it is.
theory for this one. I honestly feel like it's just shit that people don't pay attention to, and they're like, yeah, this is what I looked at it once at, because what, the Fruit of the Loom, like, I don't pay attention to that logo ever. And someone was like, it has a cornucopia, right? And I'm like, I've never looked at it. I don't pay attention to these things.
Does it have a cornucopia?
I will say, yeah, it does not, but that was,
I used to have a
see,
cornucopia.
there you
I
go.
remember that. I
I've
paid
never-
attention to it.
I'll tell you what, see, there you go, right there. That's the Mandela
I'm a
Effect.
Hanes guy. Where do we get our Hanes on?
To be honest, I don't know what Fruit of the Loom does.
I don't know. I get all my underwear
Fruit of the
from
Loom,
Duluth
it's
Trading
underwear.
Company.
Underwear.
Is it?
Yeah,
Yes.
what?
You don't know? Yeah, it's t-shirts and underwear and stuff.
Fruit
of the Loom,
Why
like
would
the
it be
loom.
called Fruit of the Loom?
Because
it's
they make
like a
fabric
loom.
on the
yeah,
loom.
right. And that's the fruit
it
of the
feels
loom. Is.
What is a loom, guys?
Oh
A
my
loom?
gosh. We need to get the
All
country
right, never
wisdom
mind.
out. He is going.
You're gonna have to edit
A
this.
loom?
I know I'm not editing this. Beat me up.
Back
and
back in
ask-
olden times, they used to make fabric on looms.
Is this
That's
what
right.
happened when you guys were younger?
Yeah, when we had pet dinosaurs.
in a simulation. In a simulation, we worked on a loom.
Yeah, and I used to love the Fruit of the Loom commercials where they had the actual grapes.
That's right. They did. They had the
Yeah,
fruit
yeah, people
and
were dressed
the
up as-
costumes.
yeah.
Did you ever see those,
Yeah.
Mitch?
Yes.
No.
You
Anyway,
just
Fruit of the
weren't
Loom.
paying attention.
Exactly.
Yeah,
a
it-
lot of the things
You're,
are.
you're talking. Why'd you
It's
give an
just-
example? You didn't even know about Fruit of the
Yeah,
Loom and
all
what
I
they
know
did.
is
So
that's-
why would you pay attention to that?
Why would I pay attention to these things?
Yeah.
No,
How about
I
the-
think
Half
he
the
said
times it's
Fruit Loops.
logos.
do you know who Nelson
He said Fruit
Mandela
of the
was?
Yeah.
Oh, he said Fruit
Okay.
of the Loom.
Yes. Because
So
they
this
said
whole
the
thing-
In the
cornucopia.
beginning, he said.
He said
Not
fruit,
a
yes.
cornucopia.
A cornucopia, right?
Cornucopia. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
the
that's
Fruit of the
what you
Loom
said.
logo.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
I
it-
thought you
I remember it too, by the way, Joe.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
apparently it wasn't
Yeah.
there. And a lot of people, they got its name from, a lot of people remember Nelson Mandela
Mandela,
dying in
right.
prison in
He
the
didn't die in
80s, but he
prison.
didn't die
No, he
until
didn't.
2013.
He actually became president of South
He
Africa.
did.
and-
So, but
Yeah.
a lot of people swear
I
they
just
remember
think-
him dying in prison.
I think everything is just the fact that since the advent of MySpace, that's, yeah.
Damn it,
all-
Tom.
It's all been downhill.
I had a MySpace page.
I never did.
Yeah.
I did.
You missed out.
I did. I totally missed out.
I don't think you
Right.
did.
Your whole thing is that we didn't go. So I'm not a believer in the simulation hypothesis. So we
I figured that out after I
And
got
you're
called
in.
a cop out twice.
called you a cop out.
You did say that he took a cop
I
out.
said that it is a cop out. I didn't say just
But
because
see,
he took
that
the
just-
off ramp.
It's just a cop out if you believe something different. So
I guess it's a cop. Man, it is. It's like we don't. Okay, Georgia.
I think it's like one of those things like, how would I know? I wouldn't know unless I knew. And I don't know.
What is that? Nick?
No, but seriously.
I don't know if I don't know what I don't know. I
Seriously,
know.
like if the simulation and I'm probably not even saying that word. If it's true enough, if it feels true enough, then how would I know that?
Exactly.
Right, the cop out. Okay, next.
That's four. Wait, you got called a cop out, not me.
I don't subscribe to this theory, but I do think that it is something that would be possible in the staged version.
Yes. Yeah.
And I do think that it is something that can be happening in our lifetime. But as far as it being right now, I don't. It's like believing in an alternative being, higher being, which it is just a technological version of it. It's a technology god.
Yeah.
I'm not like
Yeah. No, it's yeah. You run that.
where it's like, oh, there is no free will. There is
Potentially there is free will. but is it free will, right?
Like,
Is it like
becomes
choose
the
your
free
own, it's
will
like
as
choose
much
your
as-
own
if
adventure free will?
the true simulation kind of hypothesis in defense is that there was free will would be, and that was in my definition, that free will would be part of that, and the free will enough that you would start to create your own simulated
you
environment.
make decisions.
It's a pro free
Exactly.
will.
It's
One
like
can-
a choose your own
Yes.
adventure
You're within the
story.
confines of
guys.
the code, but
because,
you still
like-
have free will, right? And that's a different discussion, maybe.
Like-
what
like-
free will means and what it doesn't mean, but or how you would navigate
We'll
that.
tackle
but,
that on season 3.
Yeah, season 3. Yeah,
I'll be back for that
Yeah,
episode.
right. Free will. We got it.
Yeah,
I got
so
the free
like
will
in
episode.
the choose your
Not free
own.
willy.
That's a different episode.
That's also in season 4.
So like in choose your own adventure books, you have the free will to pick which path, but only out of a certain number of paths.
Yes, that's
So it's
how
kinda
that
like
works.
that.
Yeah, you can make up your own, but then that's just life.
I choose the one that you die really quick.
Yes, but stage. But
Fine.
I will say the stage
What? I
reality.
love doing that for those books. It's this is a terrible decision. I'm going with that. The Until Dawn games are the games where you're like, oh yeah, try to keep these people alive by doing like this, this, that, and that, where you're making decisions. Always choose the one to.
Oh, we
Screw
played
it
a
up.
game like that at the museum, remember? We
Okay.
played that game at the museum about which
Oh right, yes, that's
decision
right. Yeah,
you would
make
make and
decisions
how that
to
would
save
like.
the Earth if it
Yeah, it was
climate
like
disaster
it was
happened.
a really depressing.
It was like our podcast
so,
episode,
so
but,
depressing.
but not. We were more laughing.
It's always fun to be like, watch, I'm gonna make this guy fall, and then he's gonna.
Let's not do that. Okay.
Is there a climate
I hope he's
disaster
not.
episode?
There was a climate design. We had a guest, David Pincus, was on with us, and it was fun. You can learn all
As
about.
fun as climate disaster can be.
We got into the science of Sharknado, and then we got the alligator nados and serpentine farms. It was a lot of laughs. But I was going to say, I do agree. The nested reality, stage reality, I'm 100% there. I think those are totally doable, plausible.
But why are they doing it?
I mean, so some of the examples in recent, like Fly Me to the Moon, where they were going to do a stage moon landing in case the real one failed. That'd be a stage reality in some ways.
They just made a new one where they did that with Scarlett Johansson and Brendan
that
Fraser.
was Fly Me to the Moon.
Oh, okay.
The 77 one was Capricorn 1.
Oh,
Yeah, so that was, I found that one and I was like, hold on, 77,
I forgot the name of the
Yeah.
movie I just
Yeah.
watched a week ago.
that's a Capricorn 1. But that would be a stage reality. Reality shows, right? A lot of those are stage realities where you're going and you have that. But nested reality, we hit it. I think probably the most famous would be Inception. That would be
Yes.
a nested reality where you can go and
Great flick.
dug into those dreams. And an idea there is you have layers, and the layers are stacked up. And I think that's what you have. Where stage reality is just one layer. Right? So you have the handlers, and you have then the reality that whoever's in it is being played. The nested one, you can have multiple layers there.
Question for the staged one: would just putting someone in a reality or this reality and then just having them believe something that is completely false be considered a stage reality, and then having sorry, I'm trying to think of an
So
example.
basically, our realities that was dealing with right
Yes. And then having them in a delusional
Yes,
state
right.
by feeding them.
I think obviously
Misinformation.
that's
Essentially,
100%
yeah.
plausible.
Like I guess like what most people that have kids, you at some point you probably had them in a stage reality about different things, like
Santa Claus,
right? I mean, all sorts
Easter
of
Bunny.
yeah. So
right.
those are all
or
staged
that crackers or cookies.
cookies, or
you know.
I didn't do that.
What?
But, yeah.
We had a friend
you
that
lying to
your
yourself?
children?
no, we
Cookies?
didn't do it, but we
Yeah.
knew somebody that told their kids that crackers were cookies.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. Oh my God.
And I think then the kid was like a teenager. They went to a friend's house and they had real cookies, and they were like,
what the
is
hell is this?
Hold up.
Much better than our cookies.
Now these are cookies.
Yes.
No, so yeah, I think the stage reality is exactly that you would have, and everyone's in on it. Santa is a great example that everyone was in on that, and something happens, there's mythology around it, and then it's all staged, there's cookies left out, you eat some of the cookies, drink some of the milk, presents show up.
We
And you
have
have
to
it, so-
give a warning in this show.
Oh, spoiler alert for all the kids out there.
Why is that?
Don't
Well, it's
listen to this
little
episode.
I didn't say anything. I said this is what we do, stage reality.
Yeah, exactly. Staged.
I think if the kids listen, they know what a stage reality is.
They
then
can imply from our
You did give the definition at the beginning.
I did. Exactly. So
You're gonna have to edit this out for all the kiddos.
I'm not editing nothing out. This is rabbit hole of research. That's a different.
This is a science podcast.
Yeah.
Yes.
Rick and Morty, they have a lot. I think they
do.
usually do a lot of both. I think simulated realities and also nested stage. I think they cover, if you go through their episode arcs, they
Them
cover a lot
and
of it.
Futurama.
Yeah, Futurama
Like-
also, right? Yep. They do. I think that's
I think it's a great literary device.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
it is. It's like the multiverse at
Exactly.
some level. Then because the simulation kind of hypothesis leads to a multiverse.
Yeah.
If you can break out of yours into the other, except the first simulated group can ever escape to
Base reality. Right. Maybe
trapped.
maybe they have infinite number of simulations they could screw around with. Simulation Earth was probably just one of
But
thousands.
you at some point in time, if we extrapolate it out, because infinite is a lot, with the amount of computing power, data storage, each simulated environment, really you're using the base reality's power,
Isn't that kind of a cop out?
right? That's
You-
you.
you don't-
I mean, hey.
You don't know what base
Yeah.
reality's computing power or storage capacity is.
Yeah, but
How many
each
Big
nested.
Macs would you
But my
eat?
thing is that each nested simulation would be drawing off of
The
some
original GPU.
right and energy source. So depending on how they set their simulations up, are they drawing more, or is each simulation post first simulation some non-fidelity copy of? And so they are taking all these shortcuts that you were trying to implement.
And when
And so as
the
you
base
get
one
down,
ends,
you would
does
start
it
to.
end all of them at the same time.
This is what happens when a layman tries to argue with a PhD.
No, it's a.
This happens to
everybody.
me all the time.
It's
I
a
don't know what you're talking.
I feel your pain, bro.
I gave arguments for and against. So I've been on both sides of the fence.
But if the base one went
Right,
down,
yeah.
would they
Right.
all
That's
not
right.
go down?
They all would go
Like
down,
when a
right?
server goes down,
Yeah.
it shuts down the entire site.
Yeah, you're right.
I guess it would be. I think
If
that gets
they
back
have-
to
Yeah.
why, if you had the resources, why would the base reality want to do this? Would people just go, "Why are we doing this? Let's just
All right.
pull the plug on
I,
it."
I got some ideas on that.
Yeah, go for it. This is why I asked the question.
You guys are old enough to remember when we didn't have telephones. We didn't have the internet, right?
Hold on. I always had a telephone my entire life.
A landline.
Anyway,
He's talking about.
I don't know how old you are, Wes. It's
I was born in
1869.
no 69, dude.
They had telephones in '69.
Most of us are pretty dependent on our mobile devices now. Aren't we immersing ourselves in a simulation whenever we're engaged in our telephones?
So is that escapism or is that simulation?
I think it
So
could be
different.
both. Why can't
I
it
think
be
you're
both?
right, and I think it could be.
But what are we simulating?
and it,
Sorry, just to.
I just
Reality.
we're stimulating our brains.
But then
you know?
you're doing the same
We're
thing with a book.
escaping the reality.
Right.
I
That's
think
why
it
people
goes back
yeah.
to what you were saying, Nick. Like it could be just like all this false information
Like-
and distorting our sense of reality, but the mode would be technology.
But you could do the same thing with a book. I can read a book and get sucked into it.
Right.
I'm not simulating it.
Well,
just
it's a primitive form of simulation, I think. A book.
Well, no, but you're still in the base reality, reading, right? So you haven't left your base reality, even on the phone. You're still there doing West stuff.
That's one way to look at it. But in my mind, I could be completely immersed in a different
Yeah, but
world.
you're immersed though. That gets into this like kind of stage reality or nested reality. You ultimately know your reality base.
You're assuming a lot of things that I know. I'm not sure I do
don't
know
if
them.
maybe you think you're right. I
unless
don't
you're
know, but
under the
you're-
influence of certain drugs, like I would say mushrooms, while you're reading things, I could see it being like forgetting that your base reality, what your base reality is, but being able to come out of it as fast as you do when you're not.
All I'm saying is it's possible to trick our brains into being immersed in a different reality.
What
Whether
was
it's
that one show where the kid was just looking at a snow globe? I know that.
not sure.
What
I
wasn't
don't know.
Georgia? You know this. I know you do.
Is it Twilight Zone?
I feel like everyone was really upset with this ending of a show, and it was just like a kid looking at a snow globe, and that was like the whole reality of it.
Doesn't ring a bell.
No,
I don't got it.
we'll put that in the footnotes if
Be in
Joe
the show
finds
notes.
it.
Yeah.
We gotta find it. Yeah, so I found other weird stuff that Nick would talk about. All right, cool. Yeah. Final thoughts, Wes? I think we're coming into the end of this. We're starting to rough up a limping horse.
I think one of the biggest points of whoever designed this alleged simulation we're in is that we don't figure it out. That we're designed to not figure it out.
Well, what's the fun?
Yeah, but then we have
well,
to.
what's the point of the whole
So
thing? I don't
ultimately,
know.
we have to figure it out to make the next simulation.
No, we don't. We can make the
so
simulation.
we're done. There's no infinite number then.
We can make the simulation without ever knowing that we're not the base reality.
I think it's. I think
It's just like saying maybe multiverse, multi-realities, multiverse does.
But at some level, even in a multiverse, that means you have the ability to create another multiverse.
No, but
So with
if
the
you don't
simulations-
figure that out, then you don't create another one.
But then that means do they
Then it
exist
ends
really
there.
rare? Yeah, you're done. So in the simulation, you're done. We're a dead branch on the
Tree.
They pull the plug and we're gone.
But if they pull the plug, why couldn't they turn it back on just like we turn on our...
Yeah, but those
Xbox,
spots, so they're
PlayStation.
writing new code. Fire all those software programmers and be like, hey, we need a different.
I need a cheat code in life, all right?
Yeah. Well, there you go. Right. That's
When can I find
Yeah,
these cheat
that's
codes?
it.
That's called money.
That
You
is
have
right.
to have lots
Right.
of money.
Listen, in Grand Theft Auto, I
you'll
can
get the
put in
codes.
so many
Oh.
codes.
Oh, I can talk about that. My son used to play it, and he would get that code where he could just get a tank,
Yep.
or he would just go on top of a building and just start sniping people and get a bazooka code and just start blowing helicopters out of the sky with a bazooka.
I used to like to take a plane and then drop out of it and then like land in a car, and I'm like, this is where I die. I'm not going to do anything more.
Oh, that was such a fun game.
Georgia, what about you?
No, but I was just thinking, like in Minecraft, they have whole realities inside Minecraft that people have built. But they exist, even though they're in a game. You know what I'm saying?
That's
They
right. I mean,
said
that's
that there's a library. They're trying to save all these different documents and books in this library in Minecraft because who knows what the hell's going to happen. So that actually exists.
But like as soon as Xbox decides that the game is no longer profitable, it all goes away.
Yes. That's the whole thing. Who would, if you had the resources to build this, why would you do it, or how long would you do it? There's all these questions that would it go on for infinite number of simulations, because someone would just go, you know what, this is.
Where's the money?
Come on, little
It's just
Johnny,
like-
you gotta clean up your science project, right?
Like on to the next thing. On
So,
to the new thing.
Last thing I'm going to
Yeah.
connect it to is the Lego movie.
Like a movie. Yeah.
We watched the movie and it is they're living this, but
right,
in all reality, it's a kid just playing with his dad's toys.
Toys. Yeah. That's like a Toy Story.
Yeah.
At some level, right? There was this different reality. No,
Toy
I mean
Story.
it wasn't simulated.
Well,
I mean,
now
almost
you're spoiling Toy
yeah.
Story.
What's spoiling?
It's more
How
than
about
20 years
toys?
old.
I
You
didn't
can
say-
spoil Toy Story.
I said play with toys, like Toy Story.
What are you talking
I
about,
didn't even-
Georgia? The toys come to life and they
Now you really are spoiling.
That was
it.
pretty early, like the first couple minutes of that movie.
you just watched the trailer and you know
I was gonna
that.
say, Philip K. Dick, he had the nested reality kind of stories. Ubik, that was one I wanted to talk about, where the characters are in the shifting kind of layers of reality, almost like an Inception. So that's a good one. I'll throw that in the show notes. But yeah, I think it's a lot
It's
to chew
a
on
fun
there.
thing.
Yeah,
It's
it
a
is.
fun thing
No.
to think about.
I think just people, like I said, I've narrowed it down. I think others, some of the philosophical stuff is probably a 50-50 shot of if you want to go either way. So you can flip a coin and either we're in a simulation or we're the base reality. And that's it. I'm on the base reality, team base reality.
I would say that maybe not today, but there was a period of about 5 years where Neil deGrasse Tyson was on it. I'm not sure anymore.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear what
Simulation.
he has to say.
Yes. I think you can go on YouTube and
But yeah, you got to check which one, because there was times when he was kind of
Yes.
for it and times when he's not sure
I
anymore.
think you can convince yourself. Like I said, I had arguments for and against, and part of my job is to play both sides of the fence and get people thinking about it. But yeah, no, you can see how it works out. You rate the waveform, double split experiment, and observable phenomenon, things we don't understand, dark matter. There are things in our universe, our physical world, that we don't grasp.
Quantum entanglement.
Spooky action at a distance.
Spooky action at a distance, Albert Einstein.
That was in our quantum
The voices in my head.
episode, the voices in your head when you're sleep deprived. That was a sleep episode. Yeah. It was like a recap episode.
I feel like this was
like, did we just do this?
Yeah,
I
we
know.
had AI on this one.
It
We
was
had
good.
multiverse.
Wes, it was great having you here for this discussion. It was,
It was a blast hanging out.
Yeah, and this was
Yeah.
Wes. He brought this up. We were chatting. He was like, "Oh, we should do simulation."
I suggested about 8 different episode titles, and he's like, we did that.
We're only in season 1.
He's like, didn't you listen to the episodes, asshole?
I did not say that.
No, he did not.
Yes,
he did not.
no.
Redacted.
I thought he calls every guest an asshole as soon as they walk in. What up, asshole?
Oh no, just behind. No, that's cop out. He calls him a cop out.
It's a cop out.
All right.
Yeah, definitely. We have Wes. Let's thank Wes again for joining us. We have Georgia.
You got Nick.
Bye.
We got Joe. And
Bye.
And we went down another hole.